Hello and welcome to Some of My Friends Read Comics. We've got Vince.
If you're expecting this job to make you rich, I found it's best to start out extremely rich.
We've got Chris.
Best accept the fact that you will never again seem remotely cool to anyone.
And I'm Kia. Hi, welcome to the show. You guys did you both pick your quotes from the exact same scene in the book?
It's possible.
So today,
Same character.
Yeah, we are reading Wolverine and the X-Men. It's a series from 2011 when Wolverine takes over the school. And he's, just in charge of teaching all these young kids, I guess. And of course, at the end of this episode, we're going to continue our long read of Batman Knightfall. We're on Chapter 4, Detective Comics number 660, so we'll get to that. But yeah, for right now, Wolverine and the X-Men. This is by Jason Aaron. We've talked about him quite a bit on the show here. And art by Chris Bachalo. I'm not positive how you say his name. But have we covered any of him before, of Chris Bachalo stuff?
No, I don't even call it. I call him Bachalo. So,
Bachalo?
But again, this is a reading medium, and I've never heard him speak. But I don't think so. I know he did a Doctor Strange with Jason Aaron, I think a few years ago, which seems very much up his art style, especially currently. And then
7 or 8 years later, yeah.
Yeah, and then he did a Spider-Man run when Spider-Man made a deal with Mephisto and became single again. He was like the fourth arc written by Zeb Wells, who I think is the current Amazing Spider-Man writer, actually. And then I know he's from like Generation Next and X-Men and stuff, right?
Yeah, Generation X, he did the first 25 issues.
Yeah, way back in the day. And I like him. His art style is very, definitely got some anime influence to it, but still has its own kind of style and like just kind of looks very exaggerated and just neat.
It's good. He draws good horror monsters. He really does.
Yeah. And then Jason Aaron, boy, what has he done? Have we covered him before?
We've done Scalped.
Scalped
right,
more
Scalped.
recently than him. He did Scalped. He did, Southern Bastards, of his like independent comic books that are really popular. And then he's also, I think he's probably one of the more solid Marvel writers. I don't say he's like the top of the top, but he's always like, every time I read any of his books, I'm like, that was solid. I think he writes Avengers right now. He wrote a lot of the Thor that, whatever Christian Bale's character, Gore the God Butcher, came out of Jason Aaron's Thor run, as well as Jane Foster Thor.
Yeah, Jane Foster Thor is the thing I think people remember him for.
Right. Yeah. And then I think he's written a few X-Men events, like Original Sin and maybe Schism, which this came out of. And he'd been writing Wolverine for several years at this point. He wrote Wolverine Get Mystique was part of one of the Wolverine runs that was like a 4-issue mini that's pretty good. And then from that he got a standalone Wolverine Weapon X book, which ran for like 20 issues, and then another Wolverine standalone book. It was also ran for like 20 issues or so. And that was going on concurrently with this that we're reading today, Wolverine and the X-Men. So this is like the end of his Wolverine run. So he's writing it for probably 6 or 7 years.
Written a lot of Wolverine, this guy.
And does he do the Death of Wolverine? Because that's like 2014 or 15.
I don't think so. I think that's.
No.
I want to say that's like Daniel Way.
I think that's right. I remember reading.
I remember like when like Jeff Loeb and other people were writing Wolverine. I'm like, ugh, like okay, fine. I would never read a Wolverine book. And then Jason Aaron's like, well, fine, I'm reading a Wolverine book, I guess.
Oh, we were wrong. Death of Wolverine was Charles Soule.
Charles Soule, really? I like him. I'm reading his Daredevil run right now. His Swamp Thing run is really good from the New 52.
Yeah, I don't think he's bad in general. I don't remember. I know I didn't read The Death of Wolverine, so I don't have strong feelings. I know he's better than Daniel Way, I'll tell you that.
I feel like a lot of good writers go to die on X books. Because Soule also wrote that Darth Vader run that everybody loves.
Yeah.
So
I remember reading Brubaker's X-Men and like being excited, like, oh boy, I love all his Batman stuff. And then reading like the first 6 issues, I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, I know.
I feel like X-Men can be tough to write a lot of the times here, depending on but yeah, let's jump into this story here. I guess just enough of the backstory. The stuff they allude to in the story here is that Wolverine and Cyclops have had like a big falling out based on whatever the last event was that was happening. Yeah, schism. And Professor X is leaving the school to do whatever, and so Wolverine is just taking over.
And Professor X is walking apparently.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess he's still been walking since. Well, I don't remember. Jeez, who knows? Whatever. Doesn't matter. He's barely in this story, other than the very beginning to give Wolverine some advice. But Wolverine is really just kind of concerned about his finances with funding the school.
Yeah, and Wolverine's gonna be the headmaster of of the now I guess the Jean Grey School for Gifted Youngsters.
Yes,
and
yes.
Professor X. I mean, I guess we both quoted Professor X in this scene, but he's got a great line. It's like basically being head of a school like this is gonna make your hair fall out. And
yep,
like,
you're gonna go
cute.
bald.
That's cute.
Yeah, I mean, I saw X-Men First Class. He had a full head of hair that first movie.
Stressed him the fuck out. He lost all his hair.
Cuban Missile Crisis, his hair just falls right out.
I do also like one of the kids mentions at some point in the series that if this is the Jean Grey School for Gifted Youngsters, are we training to be G-men? I just like that book.
Stupid.
So, first day is starting. Wolverine starts with a little bit of whiskey. He asks the statue of Jean Grey for good luck. Kitty is there. She's the headmistress, and she feels old and she hates it.
How old is Kitty supposed to be at this point? I really have to know.
I don't know. Like this clearly like acts like they've clearly like had to have aged 10 to 15 years, right? Like
like Marvel time, it's been like 10 years since the Fantastic Four went to space or whatever. But it's just like, but wait, Kitty was 13 when she joined the X-Men. Like, figure that shit out.
When I read modern Marvel comics, I think Peter had been Spider-Man for about 15 years, and like in 2005. Basically, in my head canon, 4 real years equals 1 Marvel year, but that doesn't make sense anymore now.
Not anymore.
I don't worry about none of that. I just let it go. Kitty is old enough to teach.
I know
that's it.
Ben Grimm. It's been 13 years, right? Because he had a bar mitzvah as the Thing. But still, even if you're like, okay, but Kitty didn't join the X-Men the first year that the Fantastic Four existed. Like it was in the 70s.
Yeah.
And
that's when time like was really like would just slow down. And I mean, did she celebrate 10 Christmases with the X-Men? Perhaps, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Warren Ellis's Pete Wisdom character in Excalibur slept with her like in the Excalibur in the 90s, so she was an adult.
Yeah.
Then I hope.
Yeah, I mean, Warren Ellison. And young
Let's
women.
move on.
But I'm just like, how old is she? She's the head of a school. She's got to be like 25.
So Wolverine and Kitty meet up with some folks who are there from the Department of Education. They are doing a little tour of the school to make sure that, I guess it's safe. I don't know, they're gonna.
There's like health inspectors making sure that the teachers are accredited, which I guess makes sense in the real world.
Yes, so yeah. And things are not going well instantly right off the bat. They are very, very rude. They say some stuff about how like chaos seems to run rampant amongst you people. Wolverine's like, you people. We briefly meet Iceman, Bobby Drake.
We skipped friend of the show who's running student registration, Dupe. Which
I don't think we did skip him. I have him written down. Don't worry. But
he's the panel right after you.
Student registration desk. He's guiding some folks. He's speaking his. Did either of you translate his Dupe language?
No, did you?
Of course I did. He says, "See the nurse for your legacy vaccination." Very friendly.
Have we ever covered Dupe? Has Dupe ever shown up in this?
Yeah,
we did Ecstatics.
We did the Ecstatics.
No, we never covered Ecstatics. I've been talking to you. Did we?
I thought we did. I'm pretty sure.
Maybe X-Force when it was Ecstatics. I don't remember.
I don't think so.
I'm almost positive we did something.
Dupes has to have shown up somewhere, but I don't think. Okay. Well, anyways,
Dupe showed up in something else too. I feel like we've talked about Dupe more than once.
Yeah, Dupe. Okay, so Dupe is a floating green blob who speaks his own language, and you have to look up the symbols to figure out what they translate to. But now he's grown up a little bit. He's like sitting at a desk. He's more cucumber shaped than just green blob shaped at this point.
I don't
but I'm
get
glad he's
Dupe.
around.
I like Dupe is one of those like nerddom characters that like. You're like, hey, yeah, Dupe's in this book. Dupe's in Ecstatics. Dupe's in this, and you're like so excited. I'm like, I don't get it. He doesn't do anything. He's just a green blob. But then, like, weirdly, now I'm like, hey, Dupe's here, even though he's done fucking nothing. I'm still excited. I don't get it. It's like an in joke that doesn't make sense.
I mean,
And
he
maybe-
looks like Dupe. I mean, that's really.
That's all you need. Yeah, just happy to see him. Just happy he's around. Yeah, I was mentioning Iceman is the bookkeeper for the school. And yeah, so these Department of Education folks, they go for a little tour and they're like questioning everyone's credentials. At one point, like some people are moving stuff around and Kitty, goes, what do you call it? She lets them phase through her. Intangible, yeah. And they're like, oh, can't trust anyone whose brain just passed through a solid beam. I'm like, all right, come on. Now you're just being willfully ignorant here.
Yeah.
They go to a psychic defense class, and the guy's like, oh, bravo, give them all A+ for standing still doing nothing. And of course, they're doing like psychic stuff. Come on.
Yeah, Rachel Gray is there.
Yeah, she's like head of the psychic stuff. Toad is there. Toad is like a janitor. He's very much in this book he's like what's his name from Office Space, like with the red stapler in the basement.
Stephen Root's character.
Yes, he's a very Stephen Root in this. He's like just trying to get a little bed to sleep on, and he's trying to get Wolverine and Kitty's attention of like, hey, I think there's like earthquakes and like lava coming up out of some of the rooms, and they're busy trying to handle everything else. It's very much just a comedy of errors where everywhere they go, everyone they talk to like this really smart kid named what's her name? Irie? Idie is her name.
Yeah. Oya is her hero name.
Boya?
Oya. O-Y-A.
Oya. Okay. And she seems like normal at first. Until she's like, yeah, they're training us to like not kill anyone anymore, and like what anymore?
Yeah, she's like, we're all monsters and like abominations against God.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. At least Kitty had the foresight to keep Quentin Quire in detention on the first day so that he couldn't cause any trouble. He was one of those characters created during Grant Morrison's run, and he is an Omega level mutant with psychic abilities who likes to start riots. So yeah, they just.
Oh, so he's from like Grant Morrison's New X-Men, was that?
Yes.
Okay, I remember you really liking that at the time.
I love that one. Yep.
And he was, I guess, a major part of Schism, or at least he was part of Schism. Which they later will deal with in a flashback.
Yeah. We also have some other characters that were created around that era. Hellion and this pink goopy guy. They said his name. I forgot what it is. But they're talking about being there, and they like chose to leave Utopia because there's babes at the school. And they're all about the babes.
Utopia is some other island area that Scott Summers has set up his X-Men.
Yeah,
Scott Summers got super militant around this period. I remember that being like branded as big of a terrorist as Magneto, I guess.
Yeah. He gets a cool costume with like a X for eyeballs.
Yeah. I did like, I know we're not huge fans of Bendis, but I did like the Bendis run, the all new X-Men, where the X-Men of the 60s got time traveled into the present day Marvel, and they're like, wow, Scott, you turned into a huge dick.
I did like that. I still like Bendis, even if we hate on him.
I liked that run. I really did. Like, I think that's probably the last Bendis thing that besides all of his Spider-Man stuff, which I still like 100% back up. I did like that. I did like the all new X-Men run he had.
I didn't read any of it. I was way too far gone.
I'm sure if somebody who actually like appreciated the 60s X-Men would be like, what the fuck is this shit? But as somebody who didn't, I'm like, this is fine. They're teenagers again.
Well, as someone who's read like almost all of the early X-Men, the early X-Men stink. So whatever.
They're pretty bad. They're really bad.
It stands probably worst book in the 60s.
Yeah. So this Hellion guy, I wish I'd written down the pink guy's name. It's like, so I want to say it's Slurms McKenzie or whatever.
Glob Herman?
Glob, maybe it was Glob. So they're in the bathroom, and Wolverine turns the danger room on them in the bathroom because the whole school is now a danger room. It's like equipped to be a danger room. I don't know why he chose to do this because it just creates more chaos in an already chaotic situation. And these two inspectors are like, so you're saying this whole place is dangerous? Cool, got it, great.
It's like, no, we just call it a danger room because we have a futuristic CR technology that we can activate at any time.
They don't know all that. And then, okay, so then this, I was going to say like teenager, young adult or something shows up. It's a 12-year-old kid, shows up in like a limo. He's outside. He wants to talk to Logan. He says his name is Cade Kilgore. He is the CEO of Kilgore Arms, and he's not here to sell weapons. He's here because he's the new Black King of the Hellfire Club. And he has been pulling strings behind the scenes. He's caused everything that's been happening recently to the X-Men. He caused the big divide between Scott and Wolverine. And he's been pulling all these strings so that he can become the leader of the Hellfire Club. And now he's after Logan because this school reopening with him in charge was not part of his plan. Boy, a lot of setup here in this issue, and this was a whole lot out of nowhere as well. But he just made it his goal to destroy Wolverine. Wolverine does not care, and he walks away. Well, first he's like, maybe I should just kill you right now or whatever, and he's like, yeah, there's be lawyers breathing down your neck if you do that. So as Wolverine's heading back to school, chaos pretty much breaks out, and the whole school crumbles and turns into a giant rock monster.
Well, we should introduce two more.
Oh God, did I skip Beast? I did skip Beast.
And
Who else did I skip?
Well, we know who Beast is, but we shouldn't skip the characters who were like introduced in this.
You're right. There's so many characters introduced, and I might have skipped some of them.
Because I mentioned the Shi'ar introduced the technology for the Danger Room. The Shi'ar send a child to the school.
Kid Gladiator. Yes.
So, and then his bodyguard show up, and he seems just like a dumb jock. And then Brew, another alien, is from the Alien Brood, but he's like a nerd, not like regular Brood.
Did we see the Brood in like the FF Future Foundation stuff by Matt Fraction? Were they living in that school too, or I'm conflating the two books?
I don't think the Brood were in that because that's not a Fantastic Four character at all.
I might be thinking of some other thing then. Okay.
Yeah, there is some evil. I mean, there was like the Wizard's child. It was sort of the evil clone.
This gives me a lot of the vibes of that.
Yeah.
I will say I will say that Brew is probably my favorite character in this. Not yet. We'll get to his stuff, but in this issue, he doesn't even have a real name yet. He's like somebody talks to him and is like, "Oh, you're just like an alien broodling. You're not even a real mutant." And he's like, "No, I am." Blah blah blah.
He's got great design though. I mean, because he looks like a little monster and he's got glasses. It's cute.
Yeah. Very cute.
He's like a little kid bird.
And he's very polite little kid. We also have Beast, who is working in his lab doing whatever. Kitty and Wolverine are like, yeah, all right, everything is going to be fine when we take these inspectors to meet Beast because he can charm the pants off of anybody. But he is more concerned with all of his projects he's got going on. He's asking for more coffee before he kills someone. He is trying to deal with these interdimensional portals that have spawned little goblins all over the place.
Somehow Bamps are running amok in the school.
Yeah, they're like little night crawlers everywhere. At the end of this issue, when the giant rock monster shows up, there's little night crawlers everywhere trying to steal whiskey. And it's a nice little touch.
Again, the Bamps. They were first created in a bedtime story Kitty Pryde tells to the Morlocks, and then were turned out to be made real.
Wow. So yeah, I think that's pretty much the first issue. Again, might have been a bunch of details we missed. There's a whole ton of this issue really was just like, let's look at every little corner of the school and meet everything. And
I do like that the end of the issue, they've got like a letters page written, I guess, by Kitty in theory. And then it has like a diagram where it's like lays out the faculty. So we didn't see all of the faculty because we didn't see Gambit and Rogue, who are senior staff.
I don't think we ever see them in our fourth.
Yeah, I don't think they're in this storyline. And then we've got Chamber is junior staff, Cannonball junior staff. We didn't see them at all. We did see Husk briefly.
We did see Husk.
She can she tears her face off to like yell at the student. She's like playing the frazzled like Boston Public style teacher who's just like, I can't reach these kids.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Husk from old Generation X stuff, which I guess is cool for Bachalo to be able to redraw. But her powers are that she can just like shed her skin and reveal a new element underneath and just like be a rock now, or be glass or whatever.
Right. Yeah, or whatever she needs to be. It's a pretty gross out power, but yeah, that's classic. Her and Chamber are like the prototypical Bachalo characters, where it's just like, yeah, their like face explodes, or they like pull their face off, or like something horrible happens to them.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I think though it's a really strong first issue. Like it doesn't have much plot to it, and it can be a bit overwhelming. And I think this is the third or fourth time I've read it. But it's like one of those high school movies, like Mean Girls. Like, let me introduce you to the 5 cliques of the school, like the jocks and the plastics. So we've got kind of like that. So it's jumping around those kind of things. But then to like hang it on the idea of like the health inspectors, or the school inspectors, like going through every single nook and cranny of the school also like helps like with the thesis of the school. Like, this is going to be about the day-to-day running of the X school and like the chaos that runs with doing such a thing. And then I think that's just it really like puts the thesis of the book down really well. And then I think the Hellfire Club scene works really well. It's like, this is the Hellfire Club, but it's different than you've seen, but also somewhat familiar. And then that's going to be your driving plot. And I think it's a pretty strong first issue.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I didn't hate it or anything, but I will disagree with y'all. It was just kind of there. And I think the Hellfire Club stuff was very much like where I kind of lost me. I was like, wait a minute. I thought we were meeting the school. Where did this kid show up from?
But it's like, it's a teen X book where I know maybe not the names, but at least recognize like about 5 or 6 of the teen X-Men characters, which is a big thing for me.
But I mean, again, I know I'm an old man yelling in a cloud, but back in the day, this would be like a 40-page or a 38-page or whatever story, and they would have a complete story in the first issue,
right?
Instead of what they do, which is this issue is part 1 of 2.
This doesn't feel like I'm like we should probably have read more than 4 issues. Like not much is gonna happen.
It's very, very light and breezy. And then I guess that's the good and the bad. Because I was like, why didn't I keep up with this? And then I looked. And I was like, there's 8 issues of Avengers versus X-Men crossover.
That's the book that stopped me from all modern comics.
Yeah, I'm just like, no, thank you. Like, because not even a little bit.
Fear itself stopped me from buying Marvel events issue by issue. Avengers versus X-Men was the last Marvel event I ever read. And I read it as a trade, and I'm like, no, we're done. We're just done.
That's the one where like Juggernaut becomes a Phoenix and everybody becomes a Phoenix, right? That's the
Phoenix
short
Wright
version.
Objection.
Yes. Everyone gets
starring
Phoenix Wright
powers.
They can see a ghost of their dead mentor who has bigger boobs.
So let's go on
the
to
real plot of Phoenix Wright.
issue 2 here. So issue 2 starts off with a flashback where Wolverine is kind of convincing Iceman to come back and help run the school. And he's like, yeah, I know you have the potential to be amazing, all that kind of stuff. And we come back to the present with this big fight scene that's going on. This Kilgore kid with the Hellfire Club has a whole crew helping him destroy the school. I guess that's the rest of the Hellfire Club. We don't really meet any of the rest of them, but he does talk about how he's like, I destroyed 2 schools before I was 4 years old, or whatever.
And so they're like bratty rich kids rather than like I guess the Hellfire Club is bratty like shitty rich adults.
Instead of like bratty Orson Welles.
Yeah. And this kid has secretly been feeding chemicals to the Department of Education inspectors. And these chemicals are designed so that if they ever experience extreme fear, they will turn into monsters. So they turn into a Sauron and a Wendigo. And also, they have a whole army of Frankenstein's monsters with flamethrowers. They don't really look like Frankenstein's to me, but
Sauron being
more like zombies,
and Sauron being like a dinosaur, not Sauron from Lord of the Rings.
You're right. Yes, yes.
I love how Bachalo draws teeth on monsters, teeth and eyes. His teeth and eyes are always fun on monsters. I really like
that. Let's see what happens. Oh, there's a nice little meet cute where Heidi and Brew meet each other. Brew, he introduces himself as like Brood or something and gets cut off, and she's like, Brew, is that your name? And he's like, I guess it is now. And he's instantly smitten. He wonders how How soon is too soon to ask somebody to marry them?
Yeah, she uses her powers, which are very cool. She can convert heat into ice and vice versa. And so, yeah, she does that to save them. And he's like, can I propose right now or later?
Bobby has a little moment of believing in himself and being like, you know what, I can be great. And he has this brilliant idea to create tons of little ice bodies that he can control, kind of multiple man style. And everyone's real impressed, like, whoa, I didn't know you could do that. And he's like, me neither, but I figured I'd try it. And now
This is also before Iceman, before Bendis outs Iceman. He had already been hinted as gay in the 90s. But at least one of his dupes is not gay, I guess.
Well, I think what the weird, I don't know how deep. Young Iceman definitely is gay. Old Iceman may or may not be gay, which I don't know how that works, but I'm also not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
I haven't read any of that. I don't know.
Yeah. I just know one of his I'll call them ice dupes kisses Kitty, and she seems to like it, which I don't understand how she could like it. It's like kissing a popsicle.
Have you ever kissed a popsicle, Chris?
No. It seems like a good way to get your tongue stuck to something.
That's the only way to eat one. You got a friendship.
I mean, I'm more into dreamsicles, but sure.
Yeah, you got to get that cream on the inside. Kiss it all up. All right.
But somehow she's like, wow. And then you're like, wait, what? That to me was the most like Bendis, because of course Bendis writes Star-Lord to date Kitty.
Wait a minute.
After making Peter Parker date Kitty Pryde.
Okay, spoiler alert for like the end of issue 4. The cliffhanger is, oh my God, Kitty's pregnant. Is it this? Is it like the kiss made little ice babies inside of her? Like the water like dripped in.
She's gonna have a dreamsicle child.
Oh my God, maybe that's it. I don't know. Do y'all know what the baby? Well, we'll get there when we get there. Okay. So the fight is pretty much still not going 100% their way. And then we find out that the building is, or like this monster thing that's coming up from underground is Krakoa, the living island.
Hey, I know that. Friend of the show.
Yeah,
from Giant Size X-Men.
Yes.
Classic.
And I guess Quentin Quire, Kid Omega, was behind it. And
no, he wasn't
behind it. He was not behind it, but we are kind of led to believe like maybe he's got something to do with it. It's the cliffhanger of issue 2 here, where he is just like sitting there like, I could go help him if I wanted to, but
I don't think he's behind it, but he's definitely like, no, like I could definitely fucking stop this.
Right. I thought it was him at this point, but we very quickly see like he's not behind it.
But I like that because I don't know Quentin Quire from nothing, but like he's got like a really cool design. Another Spider hair. Jerusalem hair.
It really stands out every scene he's in. It's very more books should just have like one character with weird colored hair. It helps so much.
It really
Writers,
does.
artists, you can take that free tip. Just make one character look different. That's all.
Silhouette test. I think most of these characters pass the silhouette test. I think that's also helps. Like where I know I can tell who they are from a silhouette or from like just their color. I'm like, yep, got them.
So issue 3 starts off with another little flashback. Wolverine is talking to Cap because Wolverine is still on the Avengers also at this point. And Cap is just kind of surprised that Wolverine's going to be running the school. Wolverine is also not handing Quentin Quire over into custody, I guess, after all the recent events of everything. Instead, he's going to try to reform him. He thinks that putting him in a cell is just going to create a bigger monster.
Yeah. Which I guess that's going to tie into what happens in issue 4 when they're like, should this guy be in jail? No, put him in the school.
Yep. He's got, so Quentin has Omega level psychic abilities. They've also, Rachel Gray is at the school to keep an eye on him with her psychic powers. And Wolverine's like, you know what? I'm going to take full responsibilities for this kid. Back to the present. Quentin catches up with everyone. He's like out there helping. And he makes fun of Brew for wearing glasses. He's reading his mind. He knows that Brew does not need the glasses. He just wears them because he thinks they make him look smart. And
Probably doesn't need to wear little shorts either. He thinks it makes him look like a nerd.
Yeah. ID is like, just go away. You're not helping anything here. And nobody knows who he is either. Nobody recognizes him. But everybody recognizes Kid Gladiator, which just makes Quentin real mad. So Quentin tries to look into Krakoa's mind. and finds out that it is a grandchild of Krakoa, and tries to start to reason with him. And during this, like, I guess Rachel has been trying to get into its mind as well, but hasn't really been succeeding. It's kind of like, gotten a little bit in there, but hasn't really been able to stop it. But all of a sudden, Rachel is now able to fully communicate with Krakoa, and Krakoa is saying that he never wanted to attack. The Hellfire Club made him. He just wants to be, safe, and he's a mutant too, and he wants to know if he can join the X-Men, which is pretty cool. And they're like, yeah, sure, why not? And so the fighting is ended. And the living island that the school, I guess, was built on top of is now an X-Band. Although they're not on an island, right? It's just like part of the land that this guy...
Yeah, I don't know if Krakoa
I don't know how
went
that works.
underground and then came. It's not the Krakoa. I think it's a descendant.
Yeah,
of the one from Giant.
They call it Krakoa to be confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I like that scene. I think it's like it's a
It's
way
a very
to win
nice
a fight
scene. That was my
without
favorite part.
a way to end a fight without fighting, and it gives Quentin Quire good character moments. I'm like, oh, okay. He's gonna think outside the box, but he's still super cocky about his shit. And we get a cool monster now as part of our crew. I'm all right. I'm on board. I like
He's got
this.
big jaws.
And he can like control the land. I think in a future scene they're like,
gonna be like
outside.
he's gonna be like a security guard for the school. Hell yeah. It's gonna be fucking awesome. We're not gonna see this in this run, but I am.
Well, no, you know what was enough for me? It was a scene where Husk was sitting outside teaching a class, and she was like, "God, what a glare!" And Krakoa just like brings up a tree to like shade her, and she's like, "Thanks, Krakoa." I'm like, "Perfect. That's all you need."
Yeah.
We also, the next morning, we see Matt Murdock show up at Kilgore's place, and he serves them papers for damaging the schools. And it's like 80 million in damages or whatever. And he's like, "What? Wolverine is suing me? What the hell?" Which is pretty good. You don't think about Wolverine suing people, and it works pretty nice. We also,
I mean, Matt Murdock's a criminal defense lawyer, though, so I feel like he should maybe hire someone. Even She-Hulk would make more sense.
That's true. Well, it's basic enough. Maybe Matt Murdock's like, yeah, this is no problem. Open and shut case. Sure, I'll serve.
All right. I'll send a letter. I'm not actually going to file.
I mean, to be fair, Chris, though, like if I'm in any law trouble, I'm calling you first, regardless of
That's true.
Wolverine knows very few lawyers. He's calling his first lawyer friend he knows.
Yeah. That's
but he knows She-Hulk, doesn't he? I don't know. Maybe they're on the wrong side of Civil War too.
He probably dated She-Hulk. I'm just gonna throw that out there. He's a Hulk villain. Of course, he should know She-Hulk.
So we also get these Inspector folks. What happened with them? Well, they got turned back into humans. Beast cured them, but also as a result, they lost the last 24 hours of their memory. So Beast is succeeding in laughing it up with them and making friends, telling math jokes. And everyone's having a grand old time. And Kilgore still wants to make Logan's life miserable, and he goes to Sabretooth. Oh my goodness. So those first 3 issues were kind of like a little mini arc. Issue number 4 is a very much standalone kind of thing, setting the scene for the next whole bits here. We have a different artist for this. It's Nick Bradshaw, who, I don't know, he's fine. Nothing bad about him or anything, but very like basic. Is basic an okay word? It's just kind of there.
Yeah, it's fine. It's also, I mean, Marvel at this time, they really go way overboard as far as overpublishing, because there's like 40 some issues of this series in 2.5 years. Like they start doing bi-monthly on some of these.
Really?
Yeah, they don't need to do this. And yeah, that's why Bachalo needs to take a break like immediately. And he's pretty fast, but like he can't draw 2 books a month. Like that's crazy.
Yeah. So Wolverine is having a little staff meeting about the school. Nothing too unusual. The comment I wrote down was that Beast made his espresso machine too powerful and it became sentient. They're also their budget issues are going to be solved thanks to Warren Worthington coming back, Angel. Some of these students are coming in as well. We meet Genesis, a.k.a. Evan, who looks a lot like Apocalypse. And some of the other kids are also remarking about that. Kid Gladiator is also still at the school there attending classes. He's being pretty rude to Apocalypse. Quentin is also continuing to be pretty rude to Brew. Yeah, but a whole bunch of jerks at this school.
They're in high school. That's
they
how
are
it
in high
is.
school, yeah. Warren now, Angel, is, I guess he has recently lost his memory and forgotten who he is and thinks he's a real angel.
Yeah.
And he is randomly helping some sad kids whose dog died and like is buried in the backyard. And he shows up and he's like, "Oh, don't worry, it's a miracle. I'll bring this dog back to life." And the dad's like, "You need to leave. Get out of here."
Yeah, both Genesis and Angel are, I guess, coming from Uncanny X-Force, which I was not reading, so I don't really know. But I guess Apocalypse and Angel both died, quote unquote. But then they both are like this now.
Yeah, and that was a team that had like Deadpool and Wolverine in it, and I want to say Domino,
Yes.
which is why I thought that they were all like part of classic X-Force, but I think that was more like this team at this time.
Yeah, Domino is, and Deadpool was an X-Force villain, but
Okay.
yeah, it's Wolverine not related to them at all until this era when they become like they're like the Shadow Ops team or whatever that goes out and kills people.
Wolverine was in a lot of comics at this time because Aaron was writing 2 Wolverine books at this time, and then he was in Uncanny X-Force, which I want to say was Rick Remender, just off the top of my head.
And then he was in Avengers.
Shit. And then whatever event book. So I'm assuming Avengers versus X-Men, which was about to happen.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
How does that Wolverine do it?
He's the best there is.
Well, that's why he died. He was burning the
overworked.
candle too hard at both ends.
Yeah. That'll do it to you. So
Here for a good
Iceman,
time, not a long time.
Iceman shows up to where Warren is, and he's like, "Hey, man, let's leave this family alone. Come with me."
Yeah.
And kind of discovers and talking to him that he's lost his memory completely. Doesn't even know Iceman.
Which it's really shitty. Wolverine's like, I can't tell you what happened to him. You'll have to see. And he's like Angel is like my best friend on the team. He's like, yeah, well, you'll see.
Yeah, like you could have just told him what to look out for. Like, yeah. Then back at the school, Kitty is teaching a class, and they've got a guest lecturer. The guest is Deathlock, the robot from the year 2030, and he's going to talk to the kids about the future. But really, he just spends most of the time telling them that it's a terrible and violent place, and he gives them percentages about what's going to happen. He's like, yeah, 30% chance you're going to lead the X-Men, and 40% chance you're just going to die. Quentin's having a great time with this lecture today, but Deathlock sees Genesis, and he stops his predictions, and he concludes the lecture, and he leaves. So Genesis is just like, oh man, what's going on with me? He runs down Deathlock outside. He's like, what do you see when you look at me? And we get a little glimpse of it where Deathlock sees himself dead. Some X-Men team of the future that consists of Quentin and Idie and Brew and Kid Gladiator. They're all looking over his dead body, and they see Genesis as Apocalypse destroying everything. So Deathlock just says, he's like, yeah, he's not going to tell him what he sees. He just says, you're here to discover who you are. And that's it. Wolverine does know that this kid was grown in an incubator from the DNA of Apocalypse. Cool. Glad he's at the school.
Yeah. He wants it's not enough to have just Quentin Quire who's like wanted for super crimes.
Yeah.
He's like, I also want more people who are potentially super bad guys.
He's trying to rehabilitate a lot of troubled teens. This is like alternative mutant school.
All at once. Yep.
Well, he hasn't turned them into houses and then be like, okay, one of you is the evil house. Only scumbags will join this group.
It does have a lot of Harry Potter shit going on, like with like the Bamfs and stuff. Like I don't know if that's ever in Harry Potter, but that feels like it belong in Hogwarts. But I like that scene. I like the scene between Deathlock and Wolverine, is like where it's like I'm talking to students and now I'm talking in an adult context. Like, are you sure this is wise, man? Like, yeah. I really like that. I like the context switching the characters have between like who they're talking to. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And Deathlock looks cool. I wish Bachalo drew him because he's a cool character.
Yeah.
I think he was also in one of the Jason Aaron books when Wolverine killed a bunch of Deathlocks.
Yeah, he's like a recurring Aaron character. Like I don't know if he's ever joins the X-Men, but he's around a lot.
He likes him. I guess Aaron has some guys that he just fucking likes. He always has that henchman that's just like a giant eyeball helmet. It's kind of like Mysterio, but an eyeball helmet. That guy will start any plot of any book. Just his henchman. So he's his wrecking crew.
Not the 8-ball sleepwalker villain.
No, the guy that's like I don't know what he is, but he's always got like a Mysterio style helmet, but he's got just an eye on it, and he will start any series.
If I wrote for Marvel, my first story is 8-ball kills the Hood. No more Hood. He's killed by this ridiculous character.
Right. So Iceman then shows up, and he is also, of course, angry at Wolverine for not telling him about Warren's memory, and he also really doesn't want to know anything about what's going on with X-Men adventures. Iceman is here just to run the school, and at this point also to help his friend get his memory back. And Wolverine thought that him being here would be enough to help get the memory back. So now Angel is also another new student. Great. Although we do see a scene where, did he really bring this dog back to life? Oh my goodness, what's going on with this dog? We might find out in the future. And then Kitty is pregnant, and she's like, what the heck? I didn't sleep with anybody. What the hell? Which is what makes me think it's an ice baby, but we'll see what happens. It's not. Oh, damn it. I guess that's it for this issue. There was I wrote down, that nice little infographic at the end with the students and faculty and all that at the end of the trade. And a nice little beginning of a series. Does a good job of introducing a whole lot of different things and giving you enough threads to kind of be like, yeah, it really could go in a lot of different directions. So I think it did a pretty good job as a first trade for a series. Yeah.
I think my only issue was all the trades were 4 issues. So it felt very unsatisfying. You read a bunch, it's like, this is fun, but I don't know where this is going. And there's good character moments. I think though, I really like one of the letters, I think in issue 2 really kind of latched onto this, and it was asking we watch Batman Begins, and Batman Begins really breaks down how would all of this superhero shit function in the real world, and you're like, who does the contract work? How does he get a bunch of batarangs? Well, he makes a giant order for Wayne Enterprises, so no one knows it's actually Batman doing this, and they do that for the X-Men. This is how we're gonna do all these things. This is how we're going to run the school. Of course, we have to have government inspectors come through, but it doesn't lose the sense of whimsy with it at the same time. And I think that's a really cool element that I think a lot of realistic superhero books and superhero stories miss is they still keep it fucking weird. And I like that about this book a lot.
Yeah, there's one of the major, it's not even a subplot, one of the major plots of volume 2, which I went ahead and read because these are very short, is that Wolverine's we need more money. And then after failing for a long time, sorry to spoil, I guess, a subplot of volume 2 of Wolverine and the X-Men, Krakoa is oh, are these things worth anything? And just coughs up a dime. Because it's it's a lava monster who lives underground. Yes, you can solve these sort of base problems pretty
right.
easily.
I mean, but at least it's saying how do the X-Men fund this? What about a really stupid reason? It does try to be real and then gets fucking silly. And I like that. I like that about this book. And I think, Chris, you said before when I think we were teasing this episode, this is an X-Men book that talks about the day-to-day running of the school, which really most X books don't. And they're not this silly, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I like that it's not 50-50, but it's at least 30-70 with the students. You do get introduced to Kid Gladiator is introduced for the first time in this series. And so it's oh yeah, you're getting new characters. Some of these characters not a lot is done with, but a few of them are Kia. Maybe don't get attached to all of these characters because one of them might die horribly.
That's ecstatic because you like Avengers Academy also, which I didn't latch on to. A lot of those young kid books, I never really latched into as much as this one, and one we'll maybe talk about a little later. But Avengers Academy, I could never get into. I don't care about any of these kids, and I know that Marvel's not going to do with anything with them.
Yeah, so. That's the one where they're being run by the evil school, right? Not the Initiative.
Now I don't know. I might be talking about the Initiative, but I might be talking about it. Did it turn into the Academy? I don't know.
I think Academy was after because there were all the people who you might be villains. I really like that series because I think that was what's his name who went on to do all the like TV show media stuff and stopped writing comics.
Yeah.
What was it? Was it Gage? It was one of those
Gage,
guys.
yeah. Yeah, because he writes like the Spider-Man game stuff now, I think.
Yeah, where he's just doing like the TV shows and the media and isn't writing comics anymore.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, I probably am not going to keep reading this one. I rarely read most of the ones on this that we end up doing, but it's like I said, it's fine. It was like it does do a good job of setting stuff up. It wasn't 100% my vibe. I do like the weirdness, like you're talking about, but just something about the story structure. Like I just found myself kind of not really caring, and it was just like, okay, and then this, and then this. All right, great. And it was like I was reading and I was like, okay, I recognize that this is like a good comic, but it just didn't particularly speak to me for whatever reason. I don't know.
Yeah, it does. If you like this kind of book, I would recommend like the Future Foundation books from a few years earlier.
Yeah,
those are denser. Like there's a lot more stuff happening in them. But it's a similar vibe where it's like, oh, it's Franklin Richards and his sister and all the like weird friends they have.
Yeah. Because we read that definitely for the show. The one by Fraction and Allred, we definitely read that one, where like Scott Lang is trying to, because his daughter Cassie Lang died, and he was trying to bring her back or something, and then trying to kill Doctor Doom.
But that was even later.
Like, that was later. Are you talking about the Future Foundation by Hickman?
Yes. That's the original. I mean, to me, that's like a lot of the DNA for this book is in that one, where it's all introducing new fun concepts, but in the world of, well, we've already gone to, the negative zone. We've already gone to Atlantis. Like, let's see some new characters from that world that we've never seen before and kind of like build it out. And that's kind of what this book is trying to do, I think.
Cool. Well, yeah. I guess anything else we want to say about?
No, the book? I enjoyed it. I probably will read it and then it'll get too dense for me and then I'll fall off of it at some point.
I don't know what I'm gonna do about that Avengers versus X-Men crossover.
That's probably where it ends. That's probably where it ends for me.
But I think it's one of the issues after that. We find out there's a great line to answer Kia's Kitty Pryde's pregnancy mystery.
Oh, yeah.
Where Beast says, "You're not pregnant. You're under attack."
Ah! Okay. Makes sense. Is it little Nightcrawlers inside of her?
Such a fun. Oh God.
That would also be pretty bad. Like, remember the scary stories to tell in the dark where like the spiders explode out of like the woman or whatever?
No.
But with Nightcrawlers, man, they should get that guy to write some X-Men comics. Okay.
What if Scarecrow from DC Comics was terrifying?
Or that artist with like the queer, like wispy line kind of stuff. That'd be
some real Sinkovich stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to Detective Comics.
Speaking of Scarecrow, he is beaten up by Batman.
Wait, is he in this book?
Scarecrow? No, not in this book.
Okay.
He does show up later in Knightfall.
I was gonna say, if I miss Scarecrow, I'm really reading these comics too fast and missing stuff. But no, we're on Knightfall Part 4. This is sort of a fill-in issue, I might even say.
There's not much Batman. It says Detective Comics featuring Batman.
It's written by Chuck Dixon, who wrote, I think, the last one, but fill-in artist with Jim Ballant.
And Kia, you commented last time that the cover looked like a Eastman and Laird cover.
It really, I was
art style, and I'm like looking at it now, and because I didn't during we were recording last time, but it's like Bane and Killer Croc and Robin, and the lines are I know it's Sam Keith, but the lines are very thick, and it looks like Eastman and Laird's kind of like blocky characters.
Yeah, and like Robin is wearing a blindfold that looks like a Ninja Turtles like eye band thing that they do. It's very like, oh my god, look at this turtle.
Yeah, if Robin took that blindfold off and put it on Killer Croc.
Well,
and
he's even got the green shirt and green pants.
Yep.
With the
good stuff.
Yeah, it's
So this issue is definitely focused on Killer Croc. It's called Crocodile Tears. He's in the sewers thinking about how Bane broke his legs.
Arms.
We didn't really see that in these issues, did we? Oh, his arms.
That was in the prologue we skipped.
Okay, cool. Then we know all we need to. Bane broke his limbs. Bane, meanwhile, is on the streets. Robin is kind of following him. He is trying to get a hold of Batman, but Batman is passed out on a roof. When did that? What happened at the end of the last issue?
He beat up Zaz, but he's very tired.
Very tired. He's very tired. He's just sleeping on a roof.
Batman, you
taking
got a lot
nap.
more issues of Nightfall to go.
Yeah, gotta wake up.
He just looks hung over, like with the stubble and everything, and just passed out on a roof.
Looks real rough. Bullock
He's
is
just been
on.
drinking like Jack and Coke for like 18 hours. Like, oh, Robin, what am I doing?
Bullock is down there arresting Zaz from the last issue, and he's like, I wish I could kill you right now, but that would give you so much trouble, so I'm just gonna arrest you. We also get the longest running villain throughout all of this, I guess, is Ventriloquist, who's just looking for his little Scarface puppet. He goes to an attorney. He was like, "Yeah, I need your help finding finding Scarface," and he's got a gun to him. So we'll see what happens with that. We also get the return of Dr. Simpson Flanders, our old friend of the show. He's on TV again talking about his new book, saying we shouldn't be antagonizing all these villains. We need to make them feel at ease with their lifestyle. And the host is like, man, we got a body count in the triple digits. That's a lifestyle. I wonder where they're going with this Simpson Flanders guy. He's been in every issue so far, I'm sure it's going to come to something.
But only in this, and then I think he dies in like the new 52.
We'll see. Yeah, I love because what he's saying is broadly true, but it's like you live in a comic book, so
yeah.
He's like, you're more likely to be the victim of a crime if you're mentally ill. It's like, yeah, that's normally true, but you're also in Gotham City, where like every criminally insane person like commits 1,000 crimes a day.
Yeah. So then we go back to Bane and his crew. We kind of splits up from them. And Robin's like, what do I do? All right, I'm going to keep following Bane. And he follows him onto a train. So they're both on the top of this train together, and it goes into a tunnel. Robin is pretty stupid in this scene. Like, he is out in the open. I'm sure Bane knows he's there before we even see it happen. But they go in a tunnel. Bane kind of disappears, and Robin's like, oh, where is he? And of course, Bane's right behind him. You damn dumbass Robin.
I mean, he's only been Robin for like a year. So
that's fair.
He's pretty green. Interesting color.
Yeah. So that's where Robin gets kidnapped by Bane there. Then we get a little scene with Bullock and Batman. Batman is like, oh, man, turn that light off. I'm hungover. He's crawling out of a dumpster. And
we've completely dropped that other cop, like Captain Kitsch or whatever.
Yeah, the blonde
cop. Good. Didn't care about him. And Bullock is just
he's not in any cartoon. Get him out of here.
Not Bullock. I mean, I care about Renee and Bullock
Montoya,
and Gordon.
Bullock, the end.
Yeah. And Bullock is like, Batman, you need to get some sleep, man. But Batman goes off and does his thing.
Have we introduced that he's like being treated by a doctor for his like stress problems? Was that in the prequel issues?
Batman?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so she'll come back here in a little bit. Dr. Kinsolving or something like that, an Indian female doctor who he's like, oh, I'm so stressed. I don't know what's wrong with me. And so he's met her a couple of times, but now he's just like blowing her off over and over again because he's Batman.
Oh, Batman, why are you doing that? So then we get some focus on Robin. He's got the blindfold on. He's in the sewers with Bane. And they're, at first he's trying to kind of figure out who it is. He doesn't even know who's kidnapped him, but he kind of guesses it's Bane. And he's like, yeah, I know Batman, but Robin, you're kind of a wild card. I don't have as much research on you. And so Bane, I guess, wants to get rid of him, but Killer Croc hears him talking in the sewers and comes after them. Robin, meanwhile, is still just kind of like trying to talk to Bane and make him mad. But Bane, I think, is like, I think I hear something. So he leaves for a bit, and Killer Croc shows up, rips the blindfold off of Robin, who's like, whoa, what?
Whose mask is still on, by the way.
Yep.
I love that. I mean, I guess it's glued on or something.
Yeah,
right?
I was going to say, the blindfold's connected by just like a piece of cloth around his ears.
Yeah. I also like that, though, Robin is like, Batman believes in me enough. He's not going to like drop everything to come rescue me. He thinks I'll be able to save myself. I think that's an interesting character moment or character description. Like, oh, okay. Yeah.
I really liked when Killer Croc rips the blindfold off and he sees him. Robin is like, wait a minute. Was I wrong? I thought it was Bane the whole time, but was it Killer Croc the whole time?
Yeah, I like that too.
And
I do like that.
it was cute.
Yeah.
But then Bane shows up and they have a little fight with each other.
Yeah.
While
Killer
Robin...
Croc's like, where is he?
Yeah,
He's like,
yeah.
Batman? I'm like, no.
Yeah, Killer Croc is specifically going after Bane. And while they're fighting, Robin frees himself and he gets out of there. That's pretty much it.
Well, they all fall into a bunch of water and it sucks them
Oh,
away.
that's right. That's the cliffhanger. And he's like, oh no, I need help.
Except Killer Croc, who I assume is like, good. This is fine with me.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens in the next issue, Chapter 5, which takes place in Batman number 494. So we'll be reading that. Oh, look, Scarecrow's on the cover. We are going to get some Scarecrow in number 5. And Joker popping his head out of a basket of snakes. Okay, neat cover.
That's right. Joker and Scarecrow together at last.
Great. And what's our main read for next time? We're going to read some other young teen superheroes. We're going to be reading Young Avengers from 2005. And I think we're going to do a two-parter. This is a 12-issue series that introduced the whole crew. So we're going to read the first 6 issues next time, along with Batman. Yeah, maybe I didn't let Batman breathe enough either. Is there anything we wanted to say about Detective Comics 660? It just kind of ended with the cliffhanger.
There's not much Batman in it.
For next time. Yeah, there's not much Batman. It's just kind of there.
It's got some good Robin moments, but...
Yeah. Good Robin moments. Also, Jim Balent, best known for being a cheesecake artist. I don't think there's a single woman in this book at all.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So I guess good work, Chuck Dixon. Don't let him give in to his natural instincts.
You're right. I'm flipping backwards. There's not a single woman in this book. Wow.
I don't know if that was a choice Chuck Dixon made or if it just worked out that way, but it is funny because it's like he's the artist on Catwoman, and then just gets more and more she's just cheesecakier and cheesecaker, and then he goes and does Tarot Witch of the Black Rose or whatever, which is famously ridiculous.
I was like, where have I heard this name before? And you're right, that's exactly what I remember. Yes.
Yes, where it's just she's not even wearing clothes anymore.
Yep. Well, good stuff. This art, it's fine. Again, it just looks like kind of House DC style stuff. Doesn't really stick out particularly, but it was all fine.
I thought his Croc looked cool. So
yeah. Cool. All right. Well, next time more Batman, more teen heroes with the Young Avengers, and what else is going on? Chris, how is your Stupid Minds doing?
Well, we just covered Zardoz for the new year, which is
that's a terrible
Sean
movie.
Connery,
sci-fi dystopia. We loved it. I loved it.
That's the one where he's wearing that underwear singlet, right? And everybody tells us we should be dressing like that for 2023.
Yes. He's wearing a red pair of briefs. Big black boots, and then bandoliers as suspenders. So just gun bandoliers, crossing his shoulders, holding his briefs up. Pretty normal stuff. You don't need to wear a shirt. You can just let your chest hair, hold up your clothes. It's a great movie, and I heartily recommend. It's free on archive.org at the moment because of rights confusion.
Incredible.
It's definitely. I give it 10,000 bullets out of I don't know how many possible bullets a giant stone head can shoot out, but that's a scene in the movie.
Okay, great. Vince, what's up with you?
Recently I was on an episode of Games My Mom Found. I don't know if it's dropped. It hasn't by this time of recording, but I think it's gonna be dropping this week sometime. Games My Mom Found about Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions for DS, which is the Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions was the 360 game where it had Spider-Man 2099 and Noir and Amazing Spider-Man all teaming up. And Dan Slott was asked to help write on it, and he was like, hey, this is a fucking good idea. Maybe I should write Spider-Verse. And then he did, based off of this video game. And then we did the DS version, which is actually a Metroidvania with this same concept. So like Noir and 2099 and normal Spider-Man get like powers and, you know, fill out the map and shit. It was a fun. One of the panelists on there was Blair Farrell, who's a dude who I really like. He wrote a book called The Avengers in Video Games, which is of the like 5 core Avengers, every video game they've ever appeared in. He wrote a book about, and it's really cool by Blair Farrell. So
I'll have to check that out.
He fucking goes deep. Like he'll be like, Marvel Superhero Squad for PS3 and 360 was this way, but then it had slightly different things in the Wii version, and the DS version has Thanos on it, but they don't ever have a Thanos level. And I'm like, man, this guy fucking went deep into playing Marvel Superhero Squad 3 for DS. It's a good book. He's a good host. He's on Games I Found a lot. He knows his shit. You'd probably have fun talking to him, Chris, about Spider-Man and shit. But yeah, that's what I mean. Games My Mom Found. Check it out sometime.
Wonderful.
Kia, how's your streaming setup going?
You know, it's set up. I just got to find the time to stream. That's really all it comes down to. Yeah. There's no time of the day for anything.
Yeah, what are you thinking about playing? Do you know?
You know, I've always got too many games on the list, and I never play any of them. But I did finally finish Hypnospace Outlaw. That was a great game. Nice. Highly recommend it. A terrible game to stream because you're just doing detective work on the internet, essentially, and like looking up funny web pages. But,
yeah, I feel like there would be too many people in the chat like giving you hints.
Right,
like, shut up.
You can't have that. It's just a very fun game to explore.
God, I love that game. That game, I was shocked by how emotionally affecting that ending was. I was like, how do I care about these stupid morons?
Yeah, it was good. I don't know. We'll get to the streaming when we get to it. It's I don't know. Let's end the episode for right now before I have to figure that out. Vince, I love you.
Love you too, bud.
Chris, I love you.
I love Brew.
Whoa.
That guy doesn't even need his damn glasses.
You're right. He's a liar. I withdraw my love.
Damn lie. Good. And listener, we love you as well. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.